Rigby's Roads, Chapter 12. Shit happens. Monday morning, going back to work after having the whole week off was like jumping into a cold river. It smacked Jack back into reality. 10 days ago, he was excited about his motorcycle classes, and 12 days before that, he was one empty gun chamber from being dead. Now he had the FBI bugging his phone, was involved with international secrets, was wanted by a motorcycle gang, and was involved in a kidnapping plot. On the other side of that equation were the facts that he now owned a motorcycle, had the respect of his neighbors, had made new friends, climbed out of his rut, and received psychological help, even if it was from a kid. At the office, Jack noticed everyone was wearing a suit, but he wore just his usual shirt and tie. There were donuts, bagels, and fruit on the conference room table. He looked at Bonnie. "What's up?" he asked, pointing to the conference room. "The Mingus project was rescheduled for today. They are giving the presentation this morning. Carl's uptight because Thompkins didn't show up yet, and he isn't answering his phone." Carl stuck his head out of the office door. "I need to see you and Bonnie in my office right now." Bonnie looked at Jack, and she lit up with a big smile. "Surprise! Looks like we're being called up to the front of the line to make a presentation. Are you ready?" She was excited and poised with an air of courage. "Sure, we can do it." While walking to Carl's office, Jack replayed that last sentence back in his mind. What did she say? Called up to the front of the line? That was Yogi's words the last time I saw him. Did Yogi plan this somehow? Did he do something to stop Thompkins from showing up today? How did he know the meeting was rescheduled for today? He did have access to Thompkins' computer. This is too much of a coincidence. Carl informed them. "Tom is missing. The park people will be here in 15 minutes. I need you and Bonnie to give the Mingus presentation. Are you both up to it?" "Sure," Bonnie blurted out. "We created it." Jack nodded at Carl and saw the excited look on Bonnie's face. He was surprised at how positive she was. "Okay, go ahead and call up your presentation. Get set up in the conference room. Do a quick review. And remember, this is the government we're talking about. They do things a little differently, unlike the rest of our clients." Jack followed Bonnie into the conference room. She called up her presentation on the computer, and it was projected onto the large screen at the end of the room. She quickly clicked through each slide as Jack nodded when to go to the next one. Carl walked by the door and stuck his head in. "He's here." Bonnie brought the presentation back to slide 1 and said excitedly, "Isn't this great? I've always wanted to do this." He noticed the enthusiasm in her voice. She was definitely stepping up a notch, with a poise he had never seen in her before. "Bonnie, I haven't been myself this past week, and I'd appreciate it if you would help me with this. Maybe we can go back and forth, like we did when we put this together. This is as much your project as it is mine. I need your help." "Thank you, Jack. Thanks for the vote of confidence." Carl led the gentleman into the room. "Gary Grindell, I'd like you to meet Jack Rigby and Bonnie Lester. They've been working on your account and have come up with some very creative ideas." "Hi, nice to meet you." They all shook hands. Grindell initiated the conversation. "Before we get started, I'm afraid I have some bad news for you. I'm sure you watch the news and are aware of the recent fires in some of our national parks this summer. Hundreds of cancellations have hit us hard in all of our parks. This has never happened before. 30% of summer bookings traditionally come from outside the United States, and they are down 50%. Worries about the economy, the after effects of 9/11, and the drop in foreign tourists have normally visited our parks have put a hold on our spending budget. I'm afraid all of the hard work that you've put into this presentation will never see the light of day." Bonnie spoke up. "On the contrary, Mr. Grindell, our presentation has already factored in these concerns, and we have found a way to make good use of these minor setbacks." Jack looked at Bonnie, then at Carl, then back at Bonnie again. Bonnie winked at Jack and gave him an assuring nod. He followed her lead and added, "Yes, Mr. Grindell, I'm sure you'll be pleasantly surprised about what we have in store for you." Jack then thought, I think I might be surprised myself. Jack pulled out a chair. "Have a seat here, sir. Would you like some coffee, donuts, fruit?" He pointed to the center of the table. "Yes, thanks, Jack. Don't mind if I do." Bonnie nodded at Jack as if to say, "You start, I'll follow." She clicked on the first slide and Jack started. Getting the public to our national parks has never been a problem, until this year. In the past few years, the government has increased the park's fees not only for camping and one-day admittance, but also for the yearly passes. We feel that raising those fees again this year is the wrong road to go down. However, by getting the public to visit the park for other reasons besides the normal ones is the goal of this marketing plan. Bonnie took over. As you mentioned before, foreign tourist visits are down 50%, and we want to attract that group to commit their vacation time to our national parks. We have put together a package plan focusing on the campers' and hikers' dreams. We have already contacted overseas travel agents in the UK, Germany, Japan, and several other countries who have agreed in principle on our wonderful 7-day package. They will have their choice of complete camping or cabin deals, guided nature hikes, and other activities for one great price. She changed the slide and said, Jack? But Jack was caught slightly off guard, still mesmerized by this new angle he was hearing. Yes. As you can see, the Mingus project creates the bake-off contest that focuses on the flour and cornmeal that is generated from the park's own mill. The plan is to advertise in cooking magazines and bring in a different crowd into the parks for a special reason. Grindel interrupted. And how does this tie into foreign tourists? Jack had no idea and stumbled for words. I'm glad you asked that question. Bonnie jumped in. We have contacted famous chefs from the Food Network on TV that like the idea to conduct outdoor cooking clinics, along with creating a German Oktoberfest in June, a Japanese Dragon Festival in July, and a Dude Ranch experience, complete with multi-day horseback riding excursions for August. These adventures will be offered overseas first to capture large groups of tourists, concentrated from one country at a time. So the themes will be lined up with those nationalities. She changed the slide again and said, Jack? Jack was now able to tie in both sides of this ad-lib presentation. So as far as you can see, not only can we win the U.S. residents to storm back into the Smoky Mountains for this bake-off, we know this plan can be repeated at multiple parks across the U.S. with various themes from other countries and tie into those overseas dollars. Grindel was impressed, but reiterated, it's a great idea, but as I mentioned before, we don't have the budget to pull it off. Jack smiled broadly. Well, Mr. Grindel, that's the best part. This plan, carefully choreographed by our team here in the U.S. and overseas, costs you, the U.S. government, absolutely nothing. Not one thin dime comes out of your pocket. You can go back to Washington and tell them our marketing plan is free. Let me repeat that. Free. But how, sir? It's simple, Jack continued. We charge you nothing, because we work on commission only. We put together the packages, create the theme events, and even advertise. All you provide is the park space and the promise of guaranteed camping and cabin spaces. Whatever you and the travel agents make from our packages, we get a small 15% kickback. Bonnie added, if we fail, you pay nothing out of your pocket. When we win, you still pay nothing. It's a win-win for everybody. Well, that's the most creative thing I've ever heard. Well done. I'm optimistic that this can be a goal for Mingus, and I'm sure we can commit the rest of our parks to this clever idea. Thank you. He extended his hand for a handshake to everyone in the room. Draw up the papers and send them to this address. He handed them his business card. I think we might have a deal. Carl walked Grindel out of the office and said goodbye, as Jack and Bonnie, still in the conference room, stared at each other and busted out laughing. When Carl came back to the conference room, he closed the door and walked silently to the end of the large shiny table. They both sensed his tension, and their demeanor changed like a light switch being turned off. Carl paced back and forth before he stopped and asked sarcastically, Our team here in the United States and overseas, we have signed up famous chefs from the Food Network. We have put together packages, created the theme, and even advertised, and we charge them nothing. There was complete silence in the room as Jack and Bonnie looked at each other, then at Carl, without moving their heads. "Carl," Jack was beginning to say. Carl cut him off. "You have 3 days to put this bullshit together, and I must say, it was the best bullshit I ever heard. That was a great idea, tying in those foreign dollars." "That was all Bonnie's idea, Carl. She made that up, right on the spot. It was the first time I ever heard it. It was brilliant." "Well done, Bonnie. Now let's see how creative you are at making that fantasy come true. We'll hold back on the agreement until you lock in those concepts you mentioned. 3 days. Make it happen." Later that afternoon, Carl called Jack into his office. Jack told him they had already put together 4 separate theme package ideas and had contacted 12 different travel agencies around the world who wanted to be part of the plan. Jack informed Carl, "Bonnie's aunt works as an executive at the Food Network, and she already has an agreement in place, and they are excited about the entire promotion. The Food Network folks are getting free camping for them and their families, which helped cinch the deal for Bonnie, and the best part is the network will do all the advertising for free as part of their own TV promotion." Carl was surprised, and he was happy that things were falling into place so fast. He changed the subject rather quickly, and it caught Jack off guard. "Jack, I have a problem." "What's the matter, Carl?" "It's Tom. He's become a nightmare recently. He called me after the meeting was over and said he couldn't make it because somebody broke into his car and filled it with dog shit. He said every time he tried to use his phone, he kept getting a Domino's pizza recording, no matter what number he called. He said he walked to the store near his house to use another phone, and on the way, he was encircled by a gang of punks on bicycles who demanded he give them his shoes. Can you believe that?" Jack was biting the inner part of his mouth to keep from bursting out with laughter. 3 things came immediately to his mind. Thompkins was getting all he deserved, and Yogi was alive and well and still in control, somewhere. He also noted that he needed to talk to Jerry, next door, to see if Yogi was still in communication with him. Where else could all of that dog shit have come from? Carl continued, "And on the other day, I received a strange email from a Mr. Bear showing me access logs of where Tom has been visiting on the internet. It was detailed, showing time of day, what site, how long he stayed, and the sites he was visiting. Oh my God, I couldn't believe it. He visited websites that show, well, trust me, they were disgusting. I have no other words." Jack raised his finger. "Hold on a minute." He turned away from Carl and grabbed a Kleenex from the corner table. He was facing the wall, laughing into the tissue, pretending to blow his nose. Carl kept the conversation going. "So I confronted him with it, and do you know what he told me? He defended himself by saying he never would do such a thing. When I showed him the email trace, he still denied it. Yesterday I walked by his desk and I caught him clicking on porn windows, closing them." Jack was trying not to laugh. "What did he say about that?" "He said they were popping up all day on the screen, like he had nothing to do with it. I don't know what to do about him. He makes great presentations, but he's a little annoying at times. Do you know he cheats at golf? We never see anything because he's such a bad golfer anyway. After today's presentation and the way you 2 improvised in the moment and turned that fairy tale into reality, I'm thinking of making some changes. I want you to start giving some presentations. I don't know what's come over you lately, but you are definitely back on track again." Jack smiled with pride and then turned serious. Bonnie was the brains behind the presentation this morning. She's the one who ad-libbed and changed the plan on the spot. Do you know that she takes our rough brainstorming ideas and creates those polished presentations on her own, with only a little feedback from the rest of us? She's the one who should be more involved in the presentations, not me. Carl sat there and tapped his fingers on the table, looking for the right words to say. "Jack, I've known you a long time. You are always the one guy I never doubted. It's not that I don't believe you now, but until today, I never heard about Bonnie's abilities from the team. I guess I was giving too much credit to you, Ted, and Doug. You have to admit, she has always been in the background, quiet, reserved. I never saw that side of her. The way she took over today, she acted like a different person. Like a great weight was lifted off of her, and this flower bloomed out of nowhere. Tell you what, I'll give it a lot of thought. Once again, Both of you have surprised the hell out of me. Thanks, Carl. I need to let you know I'm taking some vacation time the first 10 days of August. You? Taking a vacation for 10 days? Where are you going? I'm riding to Sturgis. Sturgis? Boy, you really have changed. Jack left Carl's office and then finished going over the parks project with Bonnie, but he didn't mention anything about what he and Carl had talked about. He didn't need a promotion. He could go off and start his own company if he wanted to. He was done with the ladder climbing in his business life. This was a perfect opportunity for Bonnie, and she really deserved it. When he arrived home, he went next door to see if Jerry had heard from Yogi. He rang the doorbell, and Jerry's mother answered. Well, hello. I'm Rita, Jerry's mom. We finally meet. Nice to meet you. He extended his hand. I'm Jack Rigby. He gave her the once-over, now seeing her up close for the first time. Yes, I know. I've seen you around, and Jerry's told me a lot about you. He has? Yes, I'm impressed with the way you made him and his friends fix the fence and clean up your yard. Do you think you can get him to do some chores around here? And I just adore Yogi. He's such a great influence on Jerry. Jack butted in. Speaking of Jerry, is he around? He looked over her shoulder, hoping to spot him somewhere inside. No, he's out with his friends. Can I help you with something? No, just tell him I need to talk to him. Yogi's out of town for a while, and I need to find out if he's been in touch with Jerry. That's all. Okay, I'll give him the message. Oh, by the way, that's a beautiful Harley you have. I'd love to go for a ride sometime. She had been his neighbor for 3 years now, and this was the first time they had ever spoken to each other, besides the occasional wave and saying hi. And now she was inviting herself to go for a ride. Thanks. Maybe we can do that when I get back from vacation in a few weeks. And then he thought, or in the year 2129, when I get out of prison. End chapter 12.